Can you discuss the experience of practice in various circumstances, particularly varying health?
There should be no difference, basically. You should practice because you should practice, see? And then in this case, what we're talking about in terms of practice is balancing karmas out. See, we don't always get a front row seat, so to speak, to a certain kind of karmic situation from the viewpoint of, well, practice is going to alleviate suffering. And it will alleviate suffering if you use it properly. So practice is not just for good days. It's not just for bad days. Practice is good for all the time. Ongoing practice. And that's pretty much the norm for practitioners. You get to the point where you reach a plateau. Which is what I have arrived at, in a manner of speaking. A plateau where, regardless of what happens to me, I'm not me. See? I'm not the body, as such. See? We enter a state of deeper being, which for some people is the best place to create healing from. Deeper healing. See? So you're not yourself, thought and mind, for the most part, when we're talking about the practice. So you want to minimize the forces of the, say, egotism and self-programming, so that you can allow yourself to heal more properly and more perfectly. So the past few months have been a rather interesting progression from various states of health to more serious conditions along the way, namely a minor heart attack, which really turned the whole wave around from self-expression to a certain kind of introspection, to wondering what's going on. What time is it now? Because that's what it is. It's then an opportunity to consider your timing and what your karmas are balancing out for you on your journey. See? And so it's interesting how we did the lily pad in January in Boston, and that was a culmination. It was a big high point, so to speak, a fulfillment point. And it was playing music for friends, a special occasion, and then giving it up, just letting it all go, and then being ready for what came with it. And what happened in my case was having an opportunity to go to the hospital. And so that happened and has been happening for the past few weeks. And now it's a matter of recovering from that and seeing what's next in terms of the repair work necessary for, let's say, the kidneys, the bladder, and the prostate, and things of that kind of level of intensity and magnitude. So slow down, build the body up fast, which is what I have also been doing. A lot of fresh fruit, vegetables, and working on rebuilding the body. See, stopping, processing, absorbing lessons, and getting ready to take another step forward. But the practice continues. In the hospital, out of the hospital, with people, without people, alone. Practice is a breathing practice, so it must continue. Remember to breathe and let go of your clinging, your emotional clinging.
How has the word practice, or rather, how does the word practice and the understanding of practice and one's own practice evolve over time?
Evolve?
Mm-hmm.
From what to what?
That's part of the question. Yeah.
Well, we start out ordinarily from the, let's say, status of suffering and cognizing it and being sensitive to the fact that we're in pain. And we're joining armies of other people who are also suffering the same karma. See? In the spirit of trying to solve all your problems. Yeah. And there's some things that can't be solved by certain means and methods. Some things can only be solved by, according to the Dharma, by letting go. So you have to make sure that regardless of what your condition is or what your practice is, see, in terms of your enlightenment training, you need to be able to let go. Let go. Let it go. And be with it. See? You let go of the suffering, because you know it's a part of your physical body and part of your contract with the material universes. And everyone has that to deal with. See? And then we have a rest point. And it's time to collect ourselves and sort of arrest, see? Arrest the processes. Say, slow things down. Stop them even. In this case, it was a stopping. Cessation. See? Letting go of the music. See? Putting it aside for the past period of time. Months or so. Touched the guitar for the first time today, which was a pleasure to do, up to a point. So I'm not forcing it and pushing it, putting a demand on the body, which it's not ready to handle at this point. It's still fragile, soft, tender. Coming. Mm-hmm. So the practice is ongoing. We have to have a commitment to practice every day, as much as possible. That means let go of your suffering, your self-created suffering, and your neuroses. In general, your neuroses that is there because you hold on to it. See? You cultivate neuroses. See? So we need to breathe freely. So having some sense of spiritual practice, yoga practice, can be helpful and useful to you. All the time, but definitely when you're in need. When you're in a crisis, as it has been. Crisis, a slowing down crisis. Stop, look, and listen. Time to consider what's going on and what you have left to do. Okay? We'll see if we have the time and energy and the focus to complete those, say, purposes. See, in the beginning of practice, you're necessarily having to be uncertain about what's going on because you're trying it for the first time, let's say, in your life. See? Living a certain type of inner life, where you're following your emotions, you're checking them without making a big deal about it. You just notice them. See? You're open to them. See? You know that they're programs. So when you know it's programming, then you have a different attitude about it. Because then you can check it and say, well, I did well today. And say, we got through that. And it is checking, but you have to take that step where you can see what it is that you need to do. What else you need to do. What do you need to purify? What do you need to clarify for yourself? What do you need to push out of the way? So it really is a movement, beyond appearances. Forms of behavior, habits, food habits, talking habits, living habits, work habits, neuroses in all forms. You want to check it, try and calm yourself, clear yourself, and get back to zero. That's important, because you owe yourself that, not your ego self. You owe your soul self that. Peace, kindness, not bad. So we can go deeper when we are mindful enough to go deeper. That's our job as spirit souls, to go deeper. Focus on the inner, that means the subtle. Not just to make believe, but the original reality. First reality. First and last reality. coming.
Could it be said that we should be working towards operating from no habits, or from a place where habits
Well,
don't have a bearing?
We can modify that phrase. It's not that habits are a problem. You need good habits. So you need wise habits. When you go into training, spiritual training, it's about cultivating good habits, wise habits, things that work for you. See, when you get your consciousness in line, you pull in all the rags and all the nonsense, the garbage. You pull it in or throw it out, and you clear the way for something more smooth and higher purpose. See, higher purpose. That means good intention. That's what we need to bring to the table when we have an opportunity to be serious and sweetly practice what it is that we're here to put forward. See, with whatever time you have left on your time track, put forward so that you can actually experience the gains. See, let's say the upgrading of your faculties, maybe your abilities and your tendencies and your programs. See, upgrade. Yeah. Come in. So it's all about the upgrade. And that's a subtle thing to bring to somebody. They may be doing that, they may not know it. And when they hear about it, then they say that, oh, I have been doing that. I've been doing it in small ways. Yeah, I'm taking notes, I'm doing this. I am enhancing my life. See, I'm improving my behavior. I'm improving my state of consciousness. So these are important things. Now, that is something we can do. You can diminish your state of consciousness, and that's what ignorance does. And you can enlighten your state of consciousness, and that's what enlightenment does. See, a small enlightenment, a little enlightenment. See, being aware, being awake, and so on. Being alert. See, watching. See, for what you've created, and that you have to reap the rewards of. See, you have to reap all the benefits of. Coming.
Is there a difference between worldly improvement, as you described, and spiritual development?
Yes, there's a distinct difference there. One has to do with your consciousness, the other one has to do with, your worldly life, which is like consciousness, but it's not the same. See, people go through their worlds and their lives, see, their material lives, without a budge in elevation. See, say elevation, what's that? You mean, go out and party, there's an elevation, right? Go out and do sports, there's an elevation. So, a little recreation, yeah, vacation, go on a scenic cruise, here's some old jazz band music and dance to that, if you can handle it, you see. So there are all these distractions that are not really upgrading the consciousness. So then you have to tune into what the upgrading is for you. If you're a musician and you want to hit your instrument and see if you can improve on what you've known and learned. See, go deeper. See. If you need to learn a tune, if you're at that stage where you need to learn tunes to feel better or feel that you're progressing, then you learn tunes. And after that, if it's not that, if it's more a matter of taking a tune and doing something different with a tune, then it becomes that. See. So there are different things you can do to prove to yourself that you're learning and that you can go beyond what you've learned. See, not necessarily gross particularly, but it relates to it.
Is it the going beyond aspect that is the spiritual quality?
Going beyond is the spiritual itself. See, because it's beyond. See, you have to understand what it really is. The spiritual is transcendent. See, it's like a thought. See, it's abstract. See, it's non-material in a sense, and it's real, but it's a paradox. It's real, but where is it? What is it? See, we're being it. It's being us. Our consciousness is what it is. Our consciousness is the enlightenment. See, we need to know that your consciousness is enlightening you right now, but not in the way that you see it and glorify it, right? Where you have this big poof, smoke, light, everything blows out of your head, you're in this bliss. That's not necessarily what it is. That might be a moment of what it is, and people have to go through that. See? So they have these imaginings of what it is, and it takes them away from what it is. It takes them away from what it could be for them, and what it should be, which is like zero, clear.
The point that enlightenment is so subtle that it's possible to miss. Seems very.
People are missing it all the time. It's so subtle. Everybody's missed it already, which is crazy. Huh? It's cuckoo. Go ahead, yeah. No, it's insane. It's insane. When you're, let's say, undergoing purification, you start to notice certain things. But you're not noticing what you didn't notice before, in a sense. It's always been there. What it is always here, but we don't see it. We don't want to see it. We don't want to see it. When you want to see it, you're going to focus on it. If you can see it, see, that's the issue. The language betrays what it is. It betrays it. The event is more along the lines of radically letting go of yourself, thought, and mind and world. Who can do that? It's inconceivable. But yet there are moments when we are exactly that, when we don't see it as such. We are that. You are the Buddha, but you're not being it. See? And so maybe practice helps it out. See? If you are practicing letting go, then practice in that way can help out rather than accumulating things. Say, oh, I'm going to get this, and I'm going to have that, and so I'm going to be this, and I'm going to be that, because I have this, and I have that. Wrong angle, wrong direction. Say, let go of all of it. Actually, properly, and that's the word, wisely, let go of all the suffering, if you can. Say, if you can understand it deeply enough, and the layers of, let's say, reality that exists in us and as us, it's possible. You can just stop. For real. Stop. And be with it. And still be able to do everything you need to do. That's the promise from the enlightened ones. It's not other than what you're doing. It's not other than where you are. So you need to incorporate that. Get your understanding to be a little bit more plastic or flexible. Say, oh, so I'm already here, but on what level am I already here where that is real to me? How do I make it real? Just stop. Let it be real. Mm-hmm.
You and other teachers have suggested things like listen or look or be, which seem to be active processes.
Well, you're already doing it, but to what degree? So then it becomes a degree of perception, not just perception. See? You don't just start. You've been doing it all the time. We're not unenlightened some of the time. We're not enlightened some of the time. It's really all the time. Your consciousness is continuous. It's a continuum. So you need to factor that into your logic so you can figure that out. It's always here. It's occurring all the time. You're never without it. So it's a problem. It's a paradox. That's the problem. It's too easy. At the self level, it's too easy. So that's it? No, obviously not. It seems to be that. So we have to be careful of what it seems to be, as distinct from what it actually is. So we need to get to what it is, rather than appearances. And that's practice. We need to exercise the right and the privilege to pay attention. Pay attention to your perceptions. It's best to do it scientifically, so there are schools of thought that enable you to reflect. Many contemplative schools and meditation schools and philosophic schools, all together, you have practice. Practice. Having a sense of your original spirituality as just pure spirit soul, not any karma whatsoever, just pure being, is a good start for people. See, that's your first reality. See, what you are, what you is light, spirit, light. See, after that, everything else is added to you. See, that you suck in or take on or believe, or have faith in, is not necessarily true. See? So we need to go back to scratch. Start from zero. No self, no thought, no mind, no world, nothing. Zero. No culture, no family. In that moment, no family. It's zero. Like when you go into deep sleep, there's no family. There's nothing there. It's fantastic. Getting close, getting warmer. That's it. Going back to source. See, deep, deep sleep. There's nothing. See, zero. That's you. That's the real you. That's the is. See, that we need to incorporate and integrate into our understanding of who and what we are and what we need to do. What we can do. See.
Can some conditions obscure that perception?
All conditions tend to, because we believe them. We believe the appearances of things outside of us. You're too addicted to the karma of the physical world. You're believing in it. All these objects, they're real, but they're also atomic. They're permeable. They're etheric. Our minds can go through that. See? We're not limited to the barriers or the physical dimensions of what this room is all about. We're not limited to that. See? We're in space. You stop and you hear and you listen. You feel the galaxy because it's you. We're breathing it and being it as much as we're able to on the earth. We're in resonance. We see the starlight. We see the stars. It's a cosmic space. We are space. We are matter. We are the universe, so a little bit of everything and a lot of nothing once we start to examine what that is. A lot of light, peace, and beauty. That's where the yogis and the masters are coming from. Their abundance of light, and peace, and beauty that they realize for themselves. And it's here, it's normal. See, for all of us, it's here, it's present. Tune into it, attention. Line of attention. See? And you'll see it. Give it attention, you see it. You'll know it because it's real. It's what's happening here. See, there's virtually no difference between the guru, in a spiritual sense, and life. They have maybe different reference points. One seems to be a person, carrying a bunch of karma, and the other thing is just gone. See? Life is wide open. See? And with one distinction, that the guru's purpose is to help you realize the openness of life, not just fill you up with information and teachings and traditions and all this other stuff, see? But to help you live your life, help you learn how to breathe properly, so that for the rest of your days you live a good life. See, happy, peaceful, wise, and kind. See, so the Guru is to dramatize a spiritual quality in the human. That's the ultimate purpose of Guru. Not just to talk to you, distract you from yourself and your ignorance and your suffering particularly, but help you to live your life now, here, see, with more openness, more compassion, and more respect for the universe. Yeah. Yeah. That's Guru, right? That which dispels darkness and is light is Guru. Mm.